The spirit-personal qualities of the Supreme are inseparable from the power prerogatives of the Almighty, and both are complemented by the unknown potential of Supreme Mind. Neither can God the Ultimate as a person be considered apart from the other-than-personal aspects of ultimate deity, and on the absolute level, the deity and the unqualified absolutes are inseparable and indistinguishable in the presence of the universal absolute. Trinities are, in and of themselves, not personal, but neither do they contravene personality. Rather do they encompass it and correlate it, in a collective sense, with impersonal functions. Trinities are, then, always deity reality, but never personality reality. The personality aspects of a trinity are inherent in its individual members, and as individual members they are not that trinity. Only as a collective are they trinity. That is Trinity. But always is Trinity inclusive of all-encompassed deity. Trinity is deity unity. The three absolutes, deity, universal, and unqualified, are not Trinity, for all are not deity. Only the deified can become Trinity. All other associations are triunities or triodities. 6. Absolute or sixth phase integration. The present potential of the Master Universe is hardly absolute, though it may well be near ultimate, and we deem it impossible to achieve the full revelation of absolute meaning values within the scope of a sub-absolute cosmos. We therefore encounter considerable difficulty in attempting to conceive of a total expression of the limitless possibilities of the three absolutes, or even in attempting to visualize the experiential personalization of God the Absolute on the now impersonal level of the deity absolute. The space stage of the Master Universe seems to be adequate for the actualization of the Supreme Being, for the formation and full function of the Trinity Ultimate, for the eventuation of God the Ultimate, and even for the inception of the Trinity Absolute. But our concepts regarding the full function of this second experiential Trinity seem to imply something beyond even the wide-spreading Master Universe. If we assume a cosmos infinite, some illimitable cosmos on beyond the Master Universe, and if we conceive that the final developments of the Absolute Trinity will take place out on such a super-ultimate stage of action, then it becomes possible to conjecture that the completed function of the Trinity Absolute will achieve final expression in the creations of infinity and will consummate the absolute actualization of all potentials. The integration and association of ever-enlarging segments of reality will approach absoluteness of status proportional to the inclusion of all reality within the segments thus associated. Stated otherwise, the Trinity Absolute, as its name implies, is really absolute in total function. We do not know how an absolute function can achieve total expression on a qualified, limited, or otherwise restricted basis. Hence we must assume that any such totality function will be unconditioned in potential. And it would also appear that the unconditioned would also be unlimited, at least from a qualitative standpoint, though we are not so sure regarding quantitative relationships. Of this, however, we are certain. While the existential Paradise Trinity is infinite, and while the experiential Trinity Ultimate is sub-infinite, the Trinity Absolute is not so easy to classify. Though experiential in genesis and constitution, it definitely impinges upon the existential absolutes of potentiality. While it is hardly profitable for the human mind to seek to grasp such far-away and superhuman concepts, we would suggest that the eternity action of the Trinity Absolute may be thought of as culminating in some kind of experientialization of the absolutes of potentiality. This would appear to be a reasonable conclusion with respect to the universal absolute, if not the unqualified absolute. At least we know that the universal absolute is not only static and potential, but also associative in the total deity sense of those words. But in regard to the conceivable values of divinity and personality, these conjectured happenings imply the personalization of the deity absolute, and the appearance of those superpersonal values and those ultra-personal meanings inherent in the personality completion of God the Absolute, the third and last of the experiential deities. 7. Finality of destiny. Some of the difficulties in forming concepts of infinite reality integration are inherent in the fact that all such ideas embrace something of the finality of universal development, some kind of an experiential realization of all that could ever be. And it is inconceivable that quantitative infinity could ever be completely realized in finality. Always there must remain unexplored possibilities in the three potential absolutes, which no quantity of experiential development could ever exhaust. Eternity itself, though absolute, is not more than absolute. Even a tentative concept of final integration is inseparable from the fruitions of unqualified eternity, and is, therefore, practically non-realizable at any conceivable future time. Destiny is established by the volitional act of the deities who constitute the Paradise Trinity. Destiny is established in the vastness of the three great potentials, whose absoluteness encompasses the possibilities of all future development. Destiny is probably consummated by the act of the consummator of universe destiny, and this act is probably involved with the supreme and the ultimate in the Trinity Absolute. Any experiential destiny can be at least partially comprehended by experiencing creatures, but a destiny which impinges on infinite existentials is hardly comprehensible. Finality destiny is an existential experiential attainment which appears to involve the Deity Absolute. But the Deity Absolute stands in eternity relationship with the unqualified Absolute by virtue of the Universal Absolute. And these three absolutes, experiential and possibility, are actually existential and more, being limitless, timeless, spaceless, boundless, and measureless, truly infinite. The improbability of goal attainment does not, however, prevent philosophical theorizing about such hypothetical destinies. The actualization of the Deity Absolute as an attainable absolute God may be practically impossible of realization. Nevertheless, such a finality fruition remains a theoretical possibility. The involvement of the unqualified absolute in some inconceivable cosmos infinite may be measurelessly remote in the futurity of endless eternity, but such a hypothesis is nonetheless valid. Mortals, Merontians, spirits, finalators, transcendentalers, and others, together with the universes themselves and all other phases of reality, certainly do have a potentially final destiny that is absolute in value. But we doubt that any being or universe will ever completely attain all of the aspects of such a destiny. No matter how much you may grow in Father comprehension, your mind will always be staggered by the unrevealed infinity of the Father I Am, the unexplored vastness of which will always remain unfathomable and incomprehensible throughout all the cycles of eternity. No matter how much of God you may attain, there will always remain much more of Him, the existence of which you will not even suspect. And we believe that this is just as true on transcendental levels as it is in the domains of finite existence. The quest for God is endless. Such inability to attain God in a final sense should in no manner discourage universe creatures. Indeed, you can and do attain deity levels of the sevenfold, the supreme, and the ultimate, which mean to you what the infinite realization of God the Father means to the eternal Son and to the conjoint actor in their absolute status of eternity existence. Far from harassing the creature, the infinity of God should be the supreme assurance that throughout all endless futurity, an ascending personality will have before him the possibilities of personality development and deity association which even eternity will neither exhaust nor terminate. To finite creatures of the grand universe, the concept of the master universe seems to be well nigh infinite, but doubtless the absonite architects thereof perceive its relatedness to future and unimagined developments within the unending I Am. Even space itself is but an ultimate condition, a condition of qualification within the relative absoluteness of the quiet zones of mid-space. At the inconceivably distant future eternity moment of the final completion of the entire master universe, no doubt we will all look back upon its entire history as only the beginning, simply the creation of certain finite and transcendental foundations for even greater and more enthralling metamorphoses in uncharted infinity. At such a future eternity moment, the master universe will still seem youthful. Indeed, it